Hello dear viewers, my name is Farid Nouri and I'm an immigration consultant in Germany. As you know, I've already made another video about the fact that how you can make a curriculum vitae or CV, which in German it is called Lebenslauf in German language, in this YouTube channel. Today, I would like to explain for you how you can write a job application in German language. A job application is called Anschreiben in German language. Now I would like to explain for you how you can write a job application or Anschreiben in German language. When you see a job description in a website, newspaper, or somewhere else and you are interested in it and you want to apply for it, then you need two main things to be able to apply for this job. The first one is your Lebenslauf or your curriculum vitae, and the second one is your job application or Anschreiben. Of course, you also need to send to the employer your graduation certificates, your work certificates, the recommendations from your past employers, certificates from seminars, workshops, and so on. The Lebenslauf and the Anschreiben which you write should be based on the job description you have seen. I mean, you have to adjust your Lebenslauf and your Anschreiben based on the job description. Which educational background, which experiences you have which match the job description and the employer needs such experience and educational background for the job you're applying for. First of all, you have to write on the upper left side of the paper your first name, last name, your complete address, your telephone number, and your email address. As you see, I've also written an example for you. My first name and last name here, as you see, belongs to me, but the address, the telephone number, and the email address are not mine and do not belong to me. They are only an example for you. After that, you write the name of the employer. If the name of the employer is written on the job announcement or on the job description, you write it here, or if you have found out the name of the employer through calling them, or you know personally the employer, what his or her name is, you write it here. As I've also written an example for you here, Frau Semmer. After that, you write the name of the company or organization where you're applying for a job. For example, I've written Asyl- und Migrationsberatung GmbH. And then you write the complete address of the organization where you're applying for a job. It is worth mentioning that the name of the person, the name of the organization, and the address of the organization are only an example, and this person does not work in this organization, and this organization is not located in this address. It is only an example. After that, you write the name of the city where you live and from where you're applying for the job, and then you write the date, as I have written the date of today. You also write the exact date of the day on which you're sending your application for the job. Then you have to specify for which job you're applying in the organization, because an organization might have announced many jobs. That is why you have to write Bewerbung für die offene Stelle, which means application for the open position. Here you write the name of the position, and here you write the reference number for the position. Of course, if the position has a reference number. is I have written an example for you. Migrationsberater is the name of the position, which means migration consultant. And I've also written for you a reference number, which in German it is called Kennziffer, but it is number. Now I'd like to talk about the content of the application. As I said before, in the example, the name of the employer of the position is Frau Semmer, or Semmer is a lady. That is why we write here Sehr geehrte Frau Semmer, or Dear Miss Semmer. In the first paragraph of the job application or Anschreiben, you write how did you find out about the job description of the job you're applying for, how your educational background and your work experience match with the requirements of the job you're applying for, and express shortly how interested you are for the job you're applying for. Of course, this paragraph should be very short, and these three things I just mentioned for you, you have to explain them very shortly, each of them maybe in one sentence. Because each of these points I just mentioned for you, you're going to explain them in the following paragraphs with more details, and you might either already have explained them in your CV or curriculum vitae or Lebenslauf with details, or you're going to explain them in the Lebenslauf or curriculum vitae later. As you can also see that I have mentioned in the first sentence of the paragraph where I have seen the job description of the job I have applied for. I've mentioned the internet page of Indeed.com or the website Indeed.com, where I've seen the job description of the job I've applied for. Mit großem Interesse habe ich Ihre Anzeige auf der Internetseite unter Indeed.com gelesen. In the second sentence of the first paragraph, I've mentioned how my educational background and my work experience match the requirements of the work I've applied for. Die beschriebene Tätigkeit in Ihrer Anzeige passt genau zu meinem Studium und meinen bisherigen Tätigkeiten bei nationalen Unternehmen und internationalen Weltorganisationen. And in the last sentence of this paragraph, I've shown my deep interest for the work I've applied for. Diese Tätigkeit entspricht zudem meinen Neigungen und Interessen. In the second paragraph, you write about your educational background. For example, if you've a bachelor degree from a university, or a master's degree, or a PhD from a university, or if you have a vocational training or an Ausbildung, you can write it here. Your seminars or workshops you've attended, you can write them here in this paragraph. As you can see, I've written about my master's degree, where I have done it, in which field of study I've done it. Actually, it is an example. It is not the field I have done my master's degree, and it is also not the university where I have done it. It's only an example. Mein Masterstudium habe ich im Bereich Sozialpädagogik an der Universität Berlin erfolgreich abgeschlossen. Then I've mentioned about the workshops and seminars I've attended, which match the requirements of the work I've applied for. Ich habe viele Workshops und Schulungen zu Themen wie zum Beispiel die Eskalation und Konfliktmanagement und ausgewählte Rechtsfelder in der Beratung und Betreuung von Flüchtlingen absolviert. Similar to this, you write the workshops, the seminars, and some other educational programs which you have attended, and these seminars, workshops, and other courses should match the requirements of the work you're applying for. In the third paragraph, you write about your work experience. If you're currently working somewhere, you write about that first, about the work experience you have in the past, where you have worked, in which organization or organizations or companies. You write them here. Of course, those work experiences which are relevant to the requirements of the work you're applying for. And then you also mention about the tasks or activities you had in these organizations or companies which match the requirements of the work you're applying for. As you can see, I've written about my current work, where I am currently working. Zurzeit arbeite ich beim DRK Brandenburg als Migrationsberater. Then I have mentioned about my previous work experience with other organizations which match the requirements of the work I have applied for. As you can see, I've written, in Hamburg habe ich als Mitarbeiter im Bereich Kinderrechte bei der Stiftung World Future Council gearbeitet. Zudem habe ich als Menschenrechteberater unter dem anderen bei der United Nations Development Program gearbeitet. Then I've written how my tasks or activities in these organizations match the requirements of the work I've applied for. As you can see, I've written, als nationale Berater bei diesen Organisationen waren meine Hauptaufgaben Beratung und Betreuung der minderjährigen und erwachsenen Geflüchteten, Konfliktlösung und Kommunikationstätigkeiten. In the fourth paragraph, you write about your capacities or abilities which match the requirements of the work you're applying for. It is worth mentioning that in order to be able to write a good Anschreiben or a job application or a good Lebenslauf or curriculum vitae, you have to read the job description of the job you're applying for and match the Lebenslauf and the Anschreiben to this job description. I mean, for example, each part of this Anschreiben should match the job description of the job you're applying for. The first paragraph, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the other parts of this Anschreiben, each part should match the job description. Like this, you will have a very good chance of being shortlisted for the interview and being invited for the interview. So, for example, about your capacities and your abilities, as I've also written here, you can see and read the job description and the capacities and abilities you have. You should match them with the requirements of the job description of the job you're reading. And I have done the same. I've read the job description, and based on that, I've written my capacities and abilities which match the job description or the requirements of the job description of the job. As you can see, I've written Konfliktfähigkeit, Teamfähigkeit, Flexibilität, selbstständige Arbeitsweise sowie Lernbereitschaft sind für mich selbstverständlich. In the last paragraph, you write about the fact that when can you start the job you're applying for? If you can get the job, on which date you will be available for the new employer. Based on this, your new employer will find out how long is your notice period for your current work or job, and when can you resign your current work, and on which date you're gonna start with a new employer. For example, I have written from 1st of June 2024, I can start the work with the new employer. Gern würde ich Ihnen ab 1. Juni 2024 zur Verfügung stehen. Then I've written that I would be very happy to be invited for a personal interview. I mean, in this sentence, you show your interest for the interview you're going to have and will be very happy to be invited for this interview. It is also possible to add after the first sentence about your salary expectation for the new job. So if you want to specify it, how much is your salary expectation for the new job, you can simply write a sentence about it here. Then you write mit freundlichen Grüßen, which means best regards. Then you write your complete name here, and between mit freundlichen Grüßen and your complete name, you sign. I mean, here you should sign. Then you write Anlagen, which means attachments. You write this here because when you apply for a job in Germany, you have to put the Anschreiben or job application first. Then you put your Lebenslauf or curriculum vitae. Then you put the documents about your educational background, for example, about your university degree, about your vocational training, about your school or a school graduation certificate. Then you put the documents about your work experience, about your seminars, workshops, your language courses, and so on. I mean, what you have written in your Lebenslauf or curriculum vitae and in your Anschreiben or job application, you have to prove them with the documents you attach with the job application and the Lebenslauf or the curriculum vitae. After completing them all, you send them all to the employer. It is worth mentioning that the job application or Anschreiben should not extend one page. I mean, it should be not more than one page. That's why you should try to write it in one page. Okay, dear viewers. Now, as you can see, our job application or Anschreiben is complete, and I've included everything needed for this job application. My address, the address of the employer, the city where I live, the date on which I've applied for the work, for what I've applied, to whom I've sent this application. You can also see the content of the job application or Anschreiben, and you can also see how I have ended writing the job application or Anschreiben. And as I just mentioned for you, do not forget to sign here. Thanks a lot for watching my video. If you would like to get similar important information about the immigration laws in Germany, your rights and duties in German society, the living conditions in Germany, and other such important topics, please subscribe and follow our channel. If you have any questions or remarks about today's topic, you can write it under this video and I will be more than happy to answer it for you.